getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome back to Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Racing on SMB. JR Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, my partner, Kennen Miller, and tonight's producer, Marty Czekala. As season 2025, season 3 rolls on. Week 2 takes us from Connecticut and across New York State to Watkins Glen International. The village of Watkins Glen is located in the southern tip of the Seneca Lake region in upstate New York. The first races back in this area were on public roads back in 1948. The permanent circuit opened in 1956, and over the past almost 70 years, the Glen has played host to IMSA, NASCAR, IndyCar, Trans Am, and even Formula One. And a shout out to any remaining boglodites, the swamp creatures partially responsible for chasing Formula One out of the U.S. If you're bored, go ahead and look that up. I might throw it in the comments later. But anyway, today's configuration is 3.4 miles, 5.5 clicks, 11 corners. Current track record is a 123.9 by Sebastian Bourdais back in 2017 in DW12 IMSA car. And for you IMSA aficionados, our current GTP prototypes are running about 10 seconds off of that record. So Kennen, we are making quite a transition this week from the tight confines of Lime Rock to the wide open spaces of Watkins Glen. So what are you looking for out of these guys tonight?
I think we're looking at quite a slippery and wet race here, JR. Rainstorms are coming in. A lot of the drivers are getting a lot of good practice time, getting hot laps on a very nice, dry, cloudy racetrack. But we do have some significant storms moving in. I don't know if they'll quite be here for qualifying, but certainly will be here for race time. So as much as I'm about to say that's all positive about the track, I think things are going to be a lot shaken up and a little different here. It's a really racing-friendly track. There's tons of passing zones all over the track, especially using the boot version and layout, especially with the bus stop, another excellent place to pass. All sorts of opportunities there, but I think with the rain, it's going to be very much a keep it on the track and make sure you're pointed straight throughout the race, because this track with the speed, and we're actually seeing raindrops, I believe, get ready to fall on the camera. So we're going to ride on board with Adam Duvall. We see we're coming out of the final corner. Don't see rain at the moment, but you do see the clouds coming off in the distance there as we head down into turn one. Very high speed. This is another great opportunity to pass. There's a lot of long, high-speed straightaways. Every one of them is an opportunity to pass.
Yeah, too right, Kennen. In that turn one, I managed to get some seat time out in this car today. It was not raining, but one thing I will say about lap one is we often refer to these F4 cars as momentum cars. They're fairly light, but they're only putting down about 160 horsepower, and you have got to commit to turn one, and you have got to nail it, turn in perfectly, and have your foot immediately on the throttle. You will feel that lack of torque as these F4 cars climb the hill through the S's, and I am seeing some raindrops on the coverage right now, and as I look down my timing tower, we have one driver on wets right now, Dan Swanbeck, and he is on the track, and I can tell you that those wets are not happy right now. They overheat and go away pretty quickly. It has just started raining, but tires definitely are going to play a role here as practice winds down.
The track is still considered mostly dry, so I don't know if we're going to get much lessons learned by having the wet tires out there right now. It is coming down pretty hard, but with only 3 minutes left in the session, it's only going to put so much liquid down onto the true surface. So definitely starting to come out of the bottom of the tires. We can see some spray as we look at Dan Swanbeck's rear, and looking pretty good right now in P4. Joshua Leslie still asserting his dominance at the top of the practice board, but I think we just watched the major transition in the entire evening as the rain is now here.
Yeah, Leslie looking strong up top of that 149, 810. Aaron Van Wagner sniffing around behind him, only 800ths off of his pace. And Adam Duvall still waiting to break that 150 barrier. Oh my goodness. And there we go. There is still looking at Swanbeck there. So again, those treaded tires, the track is not quite wet enough to make the most of that, and you saw Swanbeck get bitten there. And another point on this track, Kennen, I wanted to mention was the bus stop. And as I like to say, I am not Rolf Michael or even Willie Schumacher, but I was managing to pick up substantial chunks of time through the bus stop. Oh my goodness, that is one way to get through there, but not the ideal line, I wouldn't say. But what I was discovering, Kennen, is that you really need to straighten that out. You can go through the bus stop very, very fast in these cars. I was just dropping it down into fifth gear, cutting way inside the curb on the entry and back right on the power on exit. And so you got to be aggressive in that bus stop. You got to be committed, and don't overslow. Just because it's the bus stop, don't mean you're picking anyone up.
Yeah, certainly carrying more speed through the bus stop can be a lot more beneficial. Keeps the car playing a little more. Like you said, you keep the car straight through there. It's a lot better than giving it a whole lot of wheel. It's one of those corners that it'll just come back and bite you. We watched it just happen with Adam Duvall. He kept it a little too tight to the curbs there, almost ticked too straight in a way. Caught the curb, hit a bump, and off he went. I know the track is starting to get a little bit slick here, but I wouldn't expect to see that. I think that was more just driver error, so he'll learn from that and move on to qualifying here in just a minute.
Yeah, and as this rain started falling, Kennen, we saw, oof, ouch, that's a little unfriendly intercourse there between Van Wagner and another driver. But as we saw that rain beginning to fall, we saw Josh Leslie take another couple ticks off of his practice time. So it is not wet enough to affect lap times yet, even on slicks. And I have to bring up Fuji from last year. I think it was Fuji from last season, where it started raining. Or no, it was one of the shorter tracks, actually. It was one of the shorter Aussie tracks. But in any event, it started raining. Some people dove in immediately for wets, and the front of the field stayed out on dries, and it was raining for a good 10 minutes and raining hard. So these F4 cars can stay out on those slicks, and even the people who went in to get wets were not getting the lap times as the people up front on dry. So it's absolutely not mandatory, and really I think if you see puddling on the track, that's when the wets are going to be mandatory. But we may see some of these drivers rolling the dice on fairly wet surface on slicks.
I believe that was Oran Park that we were at near the end of the season, where we ran the short version of Oran Park, and we got that big rainstorm. But you're right, it didn't really affect the cars too bad. I think this race will be different. We're already seeing race control. It was considered mostly dry. It's now teetering between mostly dry and slightly wet is how they're deeming the surface. It's only going to get worse, and you see the rain is just absolutely pouring. So I expect everybody to start on wets for this race. I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, interesting. And you saw the magic iRacing time machine there as we transition between the practice session and the qualifying session. And that track significantly wet. And right now, I see Hagen and Leslie and Ken Glasser out on dries, and Meyer, Clark, Guyton, Michael Hun, and Van Wagner are going to try their luck on wet. So we'll keep an eye on those times and keep you all informed on how that is looking, the difference between the wet and dry. And you can see some puddling there by the curb. And when the puddling gets out on the track, then these guys are going to be stuck, guys and gals going to be stuck putting on the treaded tires, whether they want to or not. But qualifying underway now. We have a 15-minute open qualifying session. We've talked about that before, as you see some significant puddling there in the inner loop. And my goodness, that is going to make a tough part of the course even tougher. But we do have open qualifying, 15 minutes worth. And so we're not going to have solo qualifying. It kind of tips a hat to the realism. They never clear the track for people to qualify. And so you've got to make the best of it. And a track like this, Kennen, with that big draft going on the main straightaway and also going up the hill into the bus stop, the draft can make a huge difference in lap time. So the draft could be having an impact in this open qualifying session that we're just beginning now.
Yeah, the draft's certainly going to have a big impact, especially the cars going a little slower through the corners due to the wet surface. It's going to make a big difference. We've already seen just on the track radar several cars that did try to go out there, thought maybe they could beat the rainstorm before the track got too wet. All the drivers on slicks now, I think, have gone back into the pits and put wets on. So that'll kind of settle that debate. But the draft will be very important. I mean, the one thing that'll be interesting is the way the spray works. Do you want to play it safe and kind of stagger yourself? You don't really know how everybody's going to break. The opening of the race is going to be very stressful going into the bus stop. So there'll be a lot of different strategies to it. I think as long as you can keep the car nice and straight through the middle of the corner, that's where you'll find a lot of lap time. I think today we could even see a surprise winner because of the wet.
Yeah, I think that is too true. Rain is the great equalizer, and for fans of the book and movie Art of Racing in the Rain, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not read that one, shame on you. Go get it. It's a quick and really kind of inspiring read. So check out Art of Racing in the Rain as we get underway in qualifying here, and let's take a look at the results so far. And really what you're seeing is the results from week 1 at Lime Rock. We have Aaron Van Wagner from Josh Leslie, from Conway, from Meyer, from Jose Navas Molina is your top 5. And oh my goodness, I think I just had contact with Jose Navas in that last race that I drove. Sorry, Jose. So that is your top 5. They kind of vanished on me, but you saw our standings so far. We are going to do a full 12-week season here. I believe there are 4 drop weeks, so 8 will count. And kind of a light field here, Kennen. And they announced this weather situation prior to the week. the season beginning, actually. It was on the schedule. So it is possible that some people took a look at this and said, yep, there's my drop week. I ain't driving at the Glen in the rain. So the drivers out here could have an opportunity to make some points from that, from the lower attendance than we normally see.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like we've only got 13 cars right now, which is substantially 10 cars less than a normal field. I'm sure the rain does have a major factor to it, but, you know, I think those guys got to get out here, guys and girls, they got to get out here and try it in the rain. The rain, it's a great way to learn car control. You really have to change the way you race lines in very minute ways. You have to drive a lot of the corners opposite than how you normally would to be fast. So it's quite an interesting challenge, and there's certainly a lot to learn. And everybody out here today, you know, good on them. They're going to learn a lot through this race. It's going to be a handful for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, no traction control, no anti-lock brakes on these cars. And you see the pretty significant puddling here as we ride along with Guyton, who is just coming up onto that last corner, entering the pit straight. And yeah, there is a lot of water out there, Kennen. And if you're not familiar with rain racing, you may hear us talk about the wet line versus the dry line. And what will happen is in dry conditions, the ideal racing line down to the apex, out to the normal exit, will get polished from the rubber. And that polished asphalt, you might be seeing it right there. That polished asphalt is super slippery. It doesn't matter if you have treaded tires, you cannot drive on it. So part of learning a track in the rain is learning where those extra slippery spots are. And as Kennen said, changing your line. And a lot of these drivers are going to be avoiding the apexes where they normally drive. So it is learning about 10 kind of different lessons on the same day and under pressure.
Certainly, and then as we just saw Greg Meyer right there coming through the S's, those curbs are looking awfully slick. Watkins Glen is normally known for being able to kind of use a little bit of the curving. You can certainly push the limits of it, and seen several cars getting loose so far just in this qualifying session. So that's going to be a factor, but you're right. The glass on the normal apex line that is actually polished rubber is just going to be insane. You're going to have to find a way to go around it. There's certain times, like going up the S's, you're not going to have a choice but to find a way to get up it safely. So there's all sorts of different factors and elements that go into completing a race right here, and it's going to definitely put a little shake up to how everybody intends to normally drive Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and riding along with Hagen there. Hagen showing a real nice line through turn one. You saw him kind of avoiding that apex there as another car slid off on the exit of turn one. So some of these drivers understanding what we're looking at. Oh my goodness. And some quick opposite lock, saving a spin there. And yeah, for somebody who drives at Portland like myself, you know that you cannot touch the painted surfaces of those curbs ever. They are slicker than ice. So you're right, Kennen, a lot of Watkins Glen and dry weather is driven on the curbs. That is 100% off the table now, along with some of the normal braking areas. They get polished up pretty good, and some of the normal apexes. So these drivers definitely have their hands full in this 20-minute sprint. We're about coming up on halfway through qualifying right now, and it looks like we've got Hun from Meyer from Duval and a pretty significant spread. Hun managed to get a pretty good lap of 209.2, and just for reference, I'm going to say that is about, if we were doing 49s before, that is, I'm terrible at math. That sounds like about 20 seconds off of the dry time. So this weather really having an impact on people's pace.
See it. I mean, just look at the spray coming off of Greg Meyer's car right now. This track is very wet. We are just getting an absolute torrential downpour right now. I mean, this is putting every driver through their paces, and you see such a massive gap between all the times. And even so, normally at this point, everybody would have at least had a qualifying time on the board. Right now, we've got 4 drivers that haven't even posted a time yet. So halfway through the session, hope that they can get something on the board. But this is really proven to be quite a difficult qualifying session. I have a feeling no drivers in the cockpit worried about how they can utilize any draft right now. I think they're all just doing the best they can to keep the car on the track with how wet the conditions are.
Yeah, and the added bonus when you usually love to tuck behind somebody on those long straights and pick up their draft. At some point, we'll show you some in-car footage of what it looks like following closely behind another open wheel car with this spray. And man, you cannot see anything. You're kind of driving by muscle memory, and the faster you go, the worse it is. And I'm telling you, stay off that curb on the exit of turn one. Everybody that's gone out there, you've seen that car try to snap around. So going to try to keep it clean and keep it on the black stuff here. You're going to have a long day at Watkins Glen. Here we go. And here's that camera work I was looking for, riding along right now with Samudio, and you just got a brief glimpse of what it is like to be right up in somebody's spray, and it is tough.
Yeah, the spray is just incredible. I mean, these cars are really putting off a lot of spray. You don't very rarely get to see the Formula 4 cars race in these types of conditions, but today we will be racing in them. It's quite treacherous out there. Look how wide they're having to take it. I would really be surprised if anybody gives Michael Hone a run for his money at the top of the board. I think the track has just totally lost itself from the beginning of qualifying, and you got a good lap in early. You were certainly benefiting yourself, because I don't think the track has any way of the speed or grip, and it's amazing all the time you can make up if those tires would grip just a little more as we're running over all that very shiny surface. Look at that, and you see it just slides it right out. Car in front gets loose on exit 2, a little too much power. This track is just, it's going to be a handful. Start to finish, the drivers already know it. Everybody knew it going into it, and they're doing the best they can to manage it, but it's certainly proven to be just a lot of cars getting wrecked in qualifying.
Yeah, and Hun with the secret sauce. He did get a low 209. His last lap was a 210.6, and I think he is parked it. I think he's had enough. He sees a second gap behind him, and Kennen, you might be right. He might have gotten lucky with conditions on his first hot lap out of qualifying and set that 209, and he may just kind of be happy sitting there. Right now, it is Hun from Meyer from Swanbeck, with about a second gap in between each of them. From Swanbeck to Duvall, another half second, and then look at Duvall to Van Wagner, 2.5 seconds. So it really is, it can be humbling if you don't have experience driving in the rain, and if you haven't practiced this particular track in preparation for driving on it wet. It is humbling, and I know that Van Wagner is feeling that. He's 5 seconds off pole, and he is one of our faster drivers in this field. So you see him kind of tiptoeing around here and tiptoeing into the sod right there. So that tough corner coming up out of the boot onto the old circuit. Big change of camber there. The car lightens up over a rise, and that is a tough one, Kennen, when it's bone dry. It's certainly not going to be any easier tonight.
No corner's going to be easier here. And I was just kind of looking through all the drivers' lap times right now. If you didn't hit a fast lap within your first few, you really didn't have anything. We do see Sarab Vase coming up in a 5th on the leaderboard there, getting their fast lap. Still 4 seconds off, though. The most I'm seeing, just looking through lap times between all the drivers, the fastest, those 210s, 211s, it came on within the first 3 laps. After that, I think the track's just been lost.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And time ticking down here. We've got a little over 3 minutes remaining in this session. And a couple of guys still out there, though. I see Meyer out there trying to improve. Swanbeck, Duvall, Vase, and Meyer's last lap a 2:10.3, or at least, Kennen, the last lap that counted. I think if he had an off and got an invalid lap, that it wouldn't show up on my timing screen here. So, yeah, these guys putting in a good faith effort here to make some changes in qualifying. But as you can see, very difficult to even keep it on the track out here.
Most I've really seen so far is Adam Duvall was managed to get in 3 truly clocked clean laps, as well as Greg Meyer, 3 clean clocked laps. Pole sitter Michael Hun got 2 clean laps, and that's about it. I haven't really seen anybody else really pull off a 4th or a 5th yet, and at this point, if they have, it's just been so far off pace. It's nothing worth a pole-worthy time so far in this session.
Yeah, and taking a look now, that is Samudio, another one of our quick drivers struggling with the conditions. There's Josh Leslie, no times yet. And Josh, one of our very fast drivers, you see him have to go through the deep stuff there on an avoid, manages to gather it up. But man, these folks' arms are going to be tired after this. Those quick opposite lock moves are tough to do for an entire 20-minute race. 20 minutes isn't that long, but the adrenaline, the pressure, the stress, the fear, everything is cranked up when it starts raining. Some people love it and thrive in it, and some people, as we have seen, would rather take a pass, Kennen.
Certainly, there's definitely some people who would rather take the pass. We always talk about with the Sim Racer Group, the Formula 4 League, there's no risk of damage in the series. So when you're racing and you hit the walls, it does get a little magical army that gets the car back going on the track right away. But this is certainly one where you can spend a lot of time off in the grass in the sand pits. And believe me, as I'm looking through the field, I mean, this could still be any of the 12 drivers that have put down a qualifying lap. So this could potentially be their race, because what it really comes down to is minimizing mistakes. Every mistake you have, I mean, I'd factor it as easily 15, 20 seconds lost. And when you consider the rain and how hard it'll be to get back up to speed in that way, I mean, it can really swap ends on you in a hurry if you make mistakes. So limiting the mistakes, you can't overdrive corners. You've got to make sure you're finding the right line. There's just so many different factors that we're going to get to talk about today that we don't always get to bring to the slow motion broadcasting studio.
Yeah, too right. And I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say that any driver who gets through this race with 0 incidents, 0X, is going to be on the podium. So write that down. Very tough conditions there. Oh my goodness. And riding along with Swan back there, and he tries to use the normal approach to turn 1, hit the braking zone on the outside there by the grandstands, and you saw what happened. That car wiggling all over the place. They're going to have to stay off that braking zone into turn 1. They're going to have to stay off the apex. And you know, you don't have to be a geometry major to understand that is difficult. You got to cross that apex at some point. But oh my word. And as Kennen said, thankfully, no damage here, folks, tonight. These F4 cars don't like getting banged around, and they certainly don't like impacts like that. But this is a developmental league. Our goal is to seat time, driver development, and these drivers are going to get a special kind of development tonight. And as Kennen pointed out, not going to be deterred by damage, so nobody's going to have to take a tow. If that was the case, it would probably be pretty lonely coming down the stretch. And look at Van Wagner just trying to ease his way through there. And my goodness, you just got to stay out of the deep stuff, Kennen. And it is hard. It is coming down. I don't have the my normal little widget up on screen to tell me what the wetness of the track is. So maybe you can let us know that. But I'm guessing it is darn wet.
The track is considered very wet by race control, and Aaron Van Wagner is on a great lap time. We'll have to see if he managed to do that fully clean, but was looking good through the first 2 sectors. The third sector, he's looked to be a little bit loose there. Kind of like we saw Josh Leslie. He went off wide in the next to last corner, and he was really on pretty much a pole sitting lap. So the track did start to come in a little bit. The drivers did start to get used to it. Yeah, Aaron Van Wagner does improve the time of the 2:12.323. So it's good to improve the time. You know you're working in the right direction of getting a handle on the car, but really, nobody could give Michael Hunt anything there the last half of qualifying.
Yeah, Van Wagner getting a nice bite there. I think he got a second plus a reduction in that lap time. So qualifying winding down here. I'm not sure if there's anybody left. I don't think there is. So this session is going to kick over, and we're going to have the starting grid for you momentarily. And as you probably know from watching the Sim Racer Group broadcast, if you cross the line before the clock hits 0, you get to finish that lap. So that's why our qualifying has gone a little longer. And look at those fans, Kennen. They are dedicated, not an umbrella to be seen in those packed grandstands out here to watch these F4 cars at battle. But it sure appears like qualifying is over, and the session should tick over in a moment. I'm not sure why it's hanging up right here, but we ought to have that grid for you in just 1 second.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's taking them so long to throw the checker, but it looks like 30 seconds, and it will fully checker flag the field here. And yeah, fans, I mean, upstate New York here, Watkins, Glen, some of the best fans I'll ever find in racing. These guys show up, show out. They support every big and small event at Watkins Glen International Raceway, and it is just a absolute blast. It's a track certainly on my bucket list to one day get to attend and see some cars running here. It's obviously quite a hike to get into upstate New York, but it is certainly one of the most historic, well-known, most prestigious racetracks you will find in the United States.
Yeah, it really is some fantastic history. And take a look at our YouTube chat. I've just posted a story from Fox Sports about the bog people. A buddy of mine was actually present during some of that poor behavior in the famous bog. So check that out as if you're bored tonight. But anyway, there is our grid. There's Michael Hunt on the pole, completely dominating in terms of the times. He'll have Greg Meyer next to him. Then it'll be Leslie next to Swinebeck. And so, looks like Leslie snuck in a heater there when my back was turned. So he managed to put himself into row 2. Then Duvall next to Van Wagner. Vase next to Guyton in row 4. Then it'll be Glasser next to Hagen in 9 and 10. Nathan next to Remudio in 11 and 12. And I believe we got one more. We may have Dan Clark there in the lucky P13 to hold up the rear. So we are going to get this one underway in a moment. And of course, cold tires, no traction control, no warm-up lap. You see the rain lights are on, and that is Michael Hunt there in the blue car on the right-hand row there. So he will have the inside entry into turn 1. And Kennen, that inside line may be even more advantageous in these conditions than normal, because we saw that outside approach to turn 1, the normal braking zone is completely underwater and very slick. A few drivers struggling. So everybody join us and say a quiet prayer for a clean start and a smooth trip through turn 1 and through the S's for the first time, and the bus stop. So many hazards laid out in front of this field of drivers. It is like a minefield. And you see our timer ticking down. About 20 seconds left. iRacing will force a start. We are ready, though. There are the lights, and we're about to get week 2 underway at a soaking Watkins Glen, and a really nice start by Greg Meyer. Look at that jump he got off the line. Han just not getting that car moving. Han completely swamped, falling to P4, P5 now as Meyer looks to drive away. At the beginning, Meyer has already stretched out a 1 second gap, and there is our first incident going through turn 1. Looks like a couple cars came together and no damage, so they will keep rolling. But look at Greg Meyer driving off here all of a sudden. And meanwhile, Michael Hunt, your pole sitter, down 5 positions to P6 and just did not get that car off the line, Kennen.
Seemed like that was Ken Glasser and Cy Nathan in there in turn 1 that came together at the rear of the field, and where certainly everybody actually had a much cleaner start than maybe was anticipated. I think you saw the pole sitter just want to take it easy. I think he knows it's a long race. He didn't want to risk over pushing it into turn 1. He knew he didn't necessarily have the preferred line going into 1 on the restart, or on the start of the race. So everybody's singling out pretty good. Now it's kind of time to play the mistake game. Make sure you hit your marks, hit your lines. You've got to keep up with the ever-changing track conditions. You see a big bobble by Joshua Leslie there going through the boots. So it's going to be a handful from drivers from lap 1 all the way to the finish. There's a very long way to go in this sprint race.
Yeah, and you see Swan back there taking a nice wide line. You can see the drivers who have put their practice in and learned to avoid those polished sections of the track. And meanwhile, Kennen, look at Dan Clark in P7. He's moved up 6. He don't need no stinking qualifying. He doesn't care that he didn't perform well up front. He's picked up 6 positions in the first lap. So you know that Dan Clark is smiling at least for a moment in that driver's helmet. And here we are, the leaders coming up out of the boot. As I said, very tough spot right there as we go uphill and kind of over a little crest there onto the old course. Oof. And there's Meyer going way wide. You got to be careful there. That is not only enough. You can get a slowdown for getting too wide an exit right there. But really impressive, frankly, first lap out of these guys. This is the kind of beginner course in open wheel racing, and these guys looking really good and looking like they're prepared for this. So it is Meyer from Leslie from Swanbeck, your top three, followed by Vase and Duvall. And there's a really wide swing again by Leslie and a super wide one. I don't know who that was. Was that Vase? And folks, you can get a slowdown down there. So picking up 1Xs is one thing, but visiting the porta potty there at the Armco on the exit of turn 1 can get you a slowdown. And that is a bummer to have to eat one of those. And there's a little problem. Oh my goodness. And I'll tell you, small problems, Kennen, in those S's due to those tight walls can just turn into big problems in a hurry.
Well, you could see right there the car, I think it was just hydroplaning. It was stuck in the puddle right on the inside of the curve and went to turn left and up the S's, and it just wouldn't turn. You could see the car look straight. I didn't notice any damage to the car, and even so, should be repairable, so I don't think it would have been anything suspension-wise. So that is just quite the bad luck right there for the drivers having to get up the S's. It's very difficult to avoid incidents when you're in the wet. You don't want to be too snappy with the wheel. It's a very difficult way to lose it. I know we brought up the time penalties that you can get running wide in the corners. It's probably your safest bet. As you see Dan Clark absolutely letting the thing hang out there. I thought he might touch the wall with the wing on that corner. So everybody's really slipping and sliding. It's going to stay that way and probably get a little bit worse as the race goes on.
And Dan Clark, the master of opposite lock, drifting the night away there. And a commentator cursed him. He was the guy who with Zara Charger had moved up 6, and now he's dropped back down into P10. And here is a replay of Nathan here. And whoops, getting a little too friendly with the driver in front. Maybe that driver slowing a little more than he was expecting. Not an excuse, but maybe an explanation. Taking a look at Dan Clark on the replay too, as Kennen said, that car is just not turning. The tires are not hooked up. The direction the car is moving, no relation whatsoever to the direction that those tires are pointing. And easy come, easy go for Dan Clark. Had moved up 6 and lost 3 of them right there.
He just hits the puddle again, and just as soon as he hits the puddle, I don't think any of his tires are really touching pavement right there. And he could almost tell that that's exactly what happened with the way he turned the wheels. So that was quite different. As we'll go back and look at our race leader, Joshua Leslie, who is taking the lead over Greg Meyer and now pulled away to a pretty nice 1.2 second lead. So he's off to a very healthy begin in the race. And there we see him taking the path. Meyer went wide again. So just another instance of minimizing your mistakes will certainly gain you an advantage here. And I think we may have Dan Swanbeck looking for Greg Meyer to take second place.
Leslie looking good here in the early going, and you know, these races being only 20 minutes long, if you want to make something happen, you don't have a lot of time to do that. As you see Glasser there visiting the sausage vendor on the exit of turn 1. But Leslie got the move done on Meyer. We'll see if we can spin up a replay of that for you. But right now there's Leslie from Meyer from Swanbeck, and Swanbeck has Vase all over him. Leslie has pulled out a nice gap back to Meyer, and those top 4, Kennen, look at that. Adam Duvall in P5 is almost 10 seconds behind Vase. So those top 4 laying down the law right now, riding along with Swanbeck. And look at that spray. That is tough, man. I remember my first race was in the rain and at night. And I got out of the car and called my mommy. That was a tough one. And here is a little move here. Tough place to try the outside. But getting it done is Meyer. I think that's Meyer on Swanbeck. Nice looking move there. A place you normally don't see passes. But again, folks, the grip on this wet track is not where you would expect it to be. So probing around different areas of the track, trying to find the grip, can get monster moves like that done.
Back around in the last corner, just was doing a really good job of keeping up with Greg Meyer, and looks like just got a little too close to the inside on the final corner, lost the rear end, and round he goes. Did a nice job to keep himself from doing any more damage or time consuming, gets the thing pointed back in the right direction, but he's certainly fallen back about 8-9 seconds off the lead now. So we'll take a look at it. You see, just wants to run a little inside. He's probably trying to keep the spray off so he can keep the visibility. You get a little too low, and like JR said earlier, that polished rubber just, there's no grip there either. You're just going to spin right around. So unfortunate luck for him. He's still got some time to recover, and Here we'll take a look at, I think, last place Ken Glasser just does the same thing, catches in the water and just kind of runs off the course. Does a good job of getting it slowed down, but you're seeing a lot of these drivers, if they're catching themselves inside, it's getting a little difficult. Same with Dan Clark. You mentioned it's got to be straight going in there, too much wheel, and he loops it as well, especially in the wet conditions. The drivers are just struggling all over the racetrack.
They are, and you see Cy Nathan there taking my preferred line through the bus stop is just, let's just skip it. I'd rather go straight there. And here's Samudio sliding through the kitty litter and into the barrier. So this one every bit as messy as we were expecting, and the gaps between cars are getting a little redonkulous at this point. It looks like the gap from P1 to P13 is 107. So the people in the back of the field are in danger of being lapped out here on Watkins Glen, a pretty big track with only 8 minutes burned. As we take a look at Duvall making his way through the boot, looking pretty smooth. As Kennen said, you want to keep your inputs smooth and kind of handle the car gently. And we'll take a look now at Vase coming up out of the boot, back up onto the old course. Such a tough spot right here. Kennen, I was out here driving in the dry today, and these F4 cars were wiggling all over the place, under power in fourth gear. Right there. So tip of the hat to these guys ticking these laps away, showing up, and being tough enough to handle this weather.
I do apologize if I might have been looking at my notes a little too much. We see Son Nathan's gone off again, but we looked at Joshua Leslie's incident. It looks like he must have lost about 3 seconds there with Greg Meyer back in the lead, and now Leslie looking to regain second and get back up front, but quite a mistake there for Leslie, so we'll have to go back and see what happened to him there to give up the lead. He had gotten quite a healthy lead he's given away, so he still looks to have the speed. He didn't lose too much time. It shouldn't have been too terrible. There we go. We'll take a look at him.
Yeah, you saw Leslie with a mighty wiggle right there as he's maybe feeling the red mist as he was sitting nicely in P1. A small error had him turned around, but he's still plenty close right now. He's only got about, actually side by side as Leslie challenging Vase here. And we're heading into the bus stop, and oh my goodness, that is going to take some stones, folks, wet or dry, side by side on that entry to the inner loop here at Watkins Glen. And Leslie is not going to lay down for that mistake. He wants to push back up front, and a nice little group up front is Meyer from Leslie from Vase. All three of those cars separated by 2 seconds, and Swanbeck now, after his little mistake, has dropped about 6 seconds back of them. So honestly, these top three cars, Kennen, all they got to do is keep it on the track. I'm not sure how much I would be pushing it right now. If any of these guys get through this mistake-free, they have a good chance of being in P1.
So I just wrote down patience, and what I mean by that is Joshua Leslie needs to make sure he stays patient. He's had a mistake, and he's going to go for it. He's diving inside. Joshua Leslie right back to the lead over Greg Meyer, going through the heel turn, and Greg Meyer is going to look back. I don't know if he's going to be able to do much with it, though, and he'll concede back to second place there. But Leslie, he's got to make sure to stay patient. He's had one mistake. It wasn't too costly. He's right back where he wants to be in the lead. But you can't let yourself get late in the race and let those mistakes happen. There won't be the time to get it back. So he's got to make sure he's patient, and that's what we're going to see hopefully through the top three, as they are all really nose to tail in very wet conditions here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, beautiful move by Leslie there. Brave on the brakes, going down into the heel. And folks, remember we talked about that wet and dry line, that inside line there. Leslie probably had better grip for braking purposes to assist him in making that pass. So, that might be where you want to go, even if you're not trying to pass somebody. And Leslie way wide again. We lost somebody into the barrier there. Is that Vase? And it is. And as I said, you got to keep it on the track, and you get a chance at winning this one. And Vase has gone wide and stuffed it out of turn one. And now that group up front is just Leslie and Meyer. And we're going to take a look at Vase here now. He's coming down the pit straight, and just no steering response there out of turn one. And you watch the magic gremlin slap the tire back on that, but in real life he would have been calling for a medic right here. And look at that lockup, just the briefest lockups, and it is over for Vase. And right now Vase has fallen about 6 seconds plus behind Meyer. So up front, it is Leslie and Meyer alone now, with Leslie enjoying about a 1.2 second gap. And now Swanbeck frying pan fire. Vase rather, frying pan fire, has got Dan Swanbeck all over him with 7 minutes remaining.
Steve Vase just running really wide in one, and now he's got Dan Swanbeck right on him. It creates a whole different run, and Vase almost driving off the track again. It's very difficult going through that boot section. You have to run it wide, and you get just a little bit off in the grass, it'll pull you right off even in dry conditions. So managing kind of that cushion line through there is quite tough, and we see Swanbeck trying to kind of size him up. Vase was able to get off, and Meyer crashed in the inside wall at the hill. Joshua Leslie now in very comfortable position with a 7-second lead. We'll have a very good race for second coming up for the final 7 minutes of this race.
Yeah, and Meyer was all over Leslie for several laps in a row there. They changed positions a couple of times, and Meyer pushing a little bit too hard there. You saw him lose that F4 car. Would have been terminal damage, but of course damage off. And now Leslie has an 8-second gap ahead, and he really needs to take a breather now and just keep it on the track for the final 7 minutes. And Kennen, yeah, you got it. It is now Meyer from Vase, from Swanbeck, all three of those cars with about a 2-second window around them in competition for the last 2 steps on the podium. And Meyer, was kicking himself. He just wanted to hang with Leslie there, and I'm not sure what caused that. We'll see if we can find that for you. But Meyer may have pushed a little too hard at the wrong time and ended up in the wall over. And there's another little wall smooch back there. That's Swanbeck getting acquainted with some of that Armco in the S's. Well-used Armco at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, you can tell the energy is very high between second, third, and fourth. They're all wanting to make sure they make moves. They were all kind of trying to recover from mistakes. Leslie, he's just got to just take the high road, take it easy. He can certainly manage an 8-second gap. We see him do it all the time in this Formula 4 league with Sim Racers group. So, you've kind of got the race in hand, but one mistake and second, third, and fourth are right back up there with you. So we'll hope not. And I don't know if Leslie's maybe running it a little too cautious, but he has given up about 1.3 seconds here over the last lap. So maybe taking it a little safe right now, knows he's got a little bit to play with, but track conditions are certainly changing. You can tell the drivers every time they go into a corner, they're needing to look for a different line. They're constantly searching for anywhere with grip. So it's been quite an interesting race so far. It's really setting up nice for Joshua.
And a nice move by Swanbeck there. Kennen, I saw Vase driving really wide out there going through the boot and thought he was going to go off, but he may have found some grip out there, and Swanbeck used that area to pass him, and then that happened. So, my goodness, nobody wanted that, which was a pretty good battle to take that turn. But now look at those intervals up front. Leslie's got 8 seconds back to Meyer. Meyer's got 10 seconds back to Swanbeck, and Swanbeck has got 2 seconds back to Vase. So this grid has really spread out here due to all these incidents. And Josh, if you hear me, we're gonna get a little replay right there. That, oh my goodness, that just, oof. That was kind of a wartime maneuver there. We're going to see it from Vase's seat and see him dragging that front tire, and really nothing he could do there. And pro tip, kids, this is fixed setup, but as you burn off fuel, if you start to drag those front tires, you can crank back your brake bias a little bit and help yourself. And gosh, going in the grass there, not helping Vase either. So right now, if everybody just kind of takes a breath here, it's going to be Leslie from Meyer from Swanbeck will be your podium if everybody can hang on for a grueling 2 more laps here in the rain. And my goodness, that field has really spread out here, Kennen.
Kind of separated now between the different incidents, so we see what Leslie's lap times are. I mean, he's running 2:12s, 2:18 when he was doing quite a bit of fighting, and banging the 2:11s. I mean, he's just outclassing the entire field right now. Greg Meyer is keeping him on time, but what we're really seeing is the difference in mistakes. Leslie was able to manage his. Meyer, just too many mistakes, is kind of giving him too much of a gap. And then you saw Vase. The one thing we don't really talk about in these rain races, these wet tires, they do wear. He's locked them up before in turn 1. You see Vase is running off the track again, coming out of the carousel, and the tires do lose traction, even though it's a wet surface. It seems like they shouldn't. They're going to change the way you have to drive the car, and it makes it quite difficult to drive such a high-powered, very light power-to-weight ratio race car like a Formula 4 race car.
Yeah, and I think that move right there, we saw Duvall getting past Hun and has also gotten past Vase, who has been the recipient of a couple of commentators' curses tonight. There is another one as Vase stuffs it again. So he is out of patience, out of tires, and oof. SOL, and I hope he brought his medical insurance card with him. He's going to have a headache after his many visits into the barriers here. Tough conditions, and that will send Vase all the way down to P7. And Kennen, he had been up there in that front group where anybody really could have had it. Anybody was in reach of it, but a little bit too much pushing. And as you pointed out, Meyer, the fast man on the track, 2:11, 3:49 is his fastest lap. And Leslie right now, sitting pretty with an 8-second gap. He can slow down and give up 4 seconds a lap at this point and still come home with a P1.
See Michael Hun, our pole sitter, spinning out, having a good top 5 run. Got himself back going pretty quickly. He's still got a good gap between him and 6, so hopefully he can still secure a good top 5. That'll be a really good points day for him. But yeah, Vase is really the big loser in today's race of being one of the top 4 cars. Easily had a chance to be first, and is kind of just through his own mistakes and the way the conditions of the car, just had the bad luck. He's found himself in 7th. It's not going to be as great of a points day as what he once had himself set up for.
And I would love to speak to Josh. So friends of Josh directed my way after the race. I'd love to kind of talk to him about how he managed this. He did have at least one spin that I saw, a little bit of battling with Meyer, but he was able to keep it chill and keep his car on the track, and that was really the difference. And as we're ticking down, the white flag kind of got to be out at this point. It's Leslie from Meyer from Swanbeck. See where Leslie is. Where is he? Heading through the boot, I guess. So if the white flag isn't out, he will certainly get it this time around. And really great drive by Josh.
Yeah, it's been a really beautiful drive. I mean, he's just done everything he's had to. He's followed all of our keys that we talked about before the race, keeping it clean, taking care of everything, hitting your lines, not getting into any incidents, one spin, no real damage. Was able to keep it all going. You see he's coming right up on some lap traffic now. He's been turning so quick. So race controls put out the white flag. He's now coming underneath the start-finish line here momentarily to take that. And looks like it has been quite a good run for him. He should be able to sit and coast, not push anything too hard, and manage this victory.
Yeah,
I believe that was actually the checkered.
Yeah, that was the checker. The white flag was out on that lap. So Leslie feeling good and showing off his F4 kart control there as he's doing a little drifting in that exit area of turn 1. So it's Leslie from Meyer from Swanbeck as we see him come across the line, and Swanbeck overcame some mistakes as well. We saw him spun, we saw him off a time or two, but kept his head down and hung in there and ended up on the last step of the podium. There's your pole sitter, Michael Hun, and you may be right, Kennen. He might have qualified a little over his head early in qualifying. His fast lap out here under race conditions is at 2:15, 7 seconds off of his qualifying time. So he might have got a draft early and qualified a little bit over his head. He was swamped immediately off the start. Good for him to hang in there with the P5. For sure, but yeah, Hun definitely got a unicorn lap there in qualifying, and sometimes that's not as fun as you might think. And here's a race to the line between Van Wagner and Glasser, very close. Looks like Van Wagner is just going to edge him by about 0.05 as these competitors racing down to the line for 9th place. And looks like we may have another, looks like Samudio may still be circulating out there, but wild and wet one here in upstate New York. And we're going to have the results up for you shortly. And yeah, here comes Rudy Samudio wanting to get, really enjoy the peace and tranquility of a nice little drive through a spring storm here in the Finger Lakes region of New York. And my goodness, look at that water. It has not gotten any drier, folks. It has absolutely poured. 100% rain 100% of this race, and they're going to need an oar here shortly. Good thing this one ending after 20 minutes. And man, oh man, speaking of Seneca Lake, there's a lake right there heading on to the front straight. There is our last competitor across the line, and we are going to have the results for you in a moment.
Yeah, it was quite a good race. A really nice job by Ken Glasser to recover. Got into the turn 1 lap 1 incident, and then to be able to recover and get a top 10, that's pretty good for him. And
all right, and there's your quali results. There's your race results, and tip of the hat to Josh Leslie, always one of our faster drivers. Didn't do what he wanted to in qualifying, but certainly did what he wanted to in dominating these wet conditions here at Watkins Glen. Your winner by 8, almost 9 seconds. Behind him, it is Greg Meyer and Dan Swanbeck will round out the podium. Then it's Adam Duvall, Michael Hunn, Jacob Guyton. So I'm not going to mess up Mr. Vase's first name. Tyler Hagan, Aaron Van Wagner, and Ken Glasser rounding out your top 10. Then it's Samudio from Nathan, from Dan Clark. The last 2 cars not finishing on the first lap. And wow. Kennen, I actually didn't realize that this one was going to be wet until I showed up here and saw the clouds and saw the rain pouring in. So that is definitely an extra thing to deal with out here for these drivers. And again, really tip of the hat for those that showed up. We're probably missing, I don't know, 5 to 10 cars out here that just didn't feel like dealing with it. So tip of the hat to those who did. And I'm just going to take a quick peek out in the waiting area. And these guys so stressed out that they just went right to the fridge, I think, after this. Nobody waiting to be interviewed. But my goodness, Kennen. So just looking back over this Love Madness out here, what did you think of how these guys did? And of course, remember, folks, these guys are, this is a development league. This is the first rung. So these guys are, forgive the expression, getting their feet wet in these open wheelers this season and last season. So I think they did a pretty good job.
a lot of drivers did really good jobs. We did see lots of spin outs, lots of going wide, but for the most part, a lot of them weren't big crashes that were into the wall. We did have a few here and there, but for the most part, they were self spins and get the thing back going, and that's what it's really all about in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 League. You know, it's getting people developed, getting people understanding the car, getting familiar with everything, how a Formula 1 race or a Formula 4 race, Formula racing in general works. And you don't always get these conditions throughout the 12 weeks in the series. So it's nice to see a little wrench thrown in. It's good to get the practice. I mean, it really does offer for somebody with the drop weeks. If you're a really good rain racer, maybe you're not as good on the dry stuff, you know, but you've figured out wet weather racing. It's a good opportunity to get a good finish, get some good points. You know, maybe it's a dry race that you have as a drop week. So it offers these drivers everything. A little mix of this is always good to grow. And as we say with it, it's all educational. You know, this is really the starting point for guys in the Sim Racers Group, guys and gals. And it turned out to be quite a splendid race. I mean, it was everything we talked it up to be, I think, through practice and qualifying. It was really a handful start to finish.
Yeah, and these guys did a really good job, and I really can't emphasize enough. I'm a racer in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. here, and if you want to drive a full season, you've got to drive in the rain. It's just how it is, and there are some guys and gals who get excited when there's a rain race coming up because there are some people that are just better at it. Some people are afraid of it. There's definitely more fear, stress in dealing with these bad weather races, and some people just grab onto it and run with it. And you saw Leslie do that today, driving away with it. So Leslie, not just a dry weather racer, getting it done here in Watkins, Glen. So fantastic stuff there. And folks, we are not just about these fantastic Formula cars here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. So I want you to go ahead and subscribe to SMB and hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the upcoming action. And tomorrow night, we'll be back here with Sim Racers Group for week 2 of Formula 3 racing. The next step up the competitive ladder from these cars will be on Gilles Villeneuve circuit in Montreal. That is guaranteed to be a fantastic show. Last week at Imola was awesome, and I don't expect anything less tomorrow. And Saturday, weekend Formula weekend, what did I say? Let me start that again. Weekend Warriors Formula Vs will be at Phillip Island. Never miss a race there. That is a fantastic track for the small, nimble cars. And then Ron's Race Nights will see Radical Esports Cup back here at Watkins Glen. And on Sunday, Spec Racer Ford and Formula Ford will run back-to-back at the Red Bull Ring, and that is a fantastic pair of shows. We get a lot of positive feedback on that, so if you're not doing anything Sunday, want to check out some racing, join Ron Mons and Charles Bichelle for Weekend Warriors at the Red Bull Ring. Also want to mention a couple special events coming up this summer. July 3rd, we have the USRA 160 lap ARCA event with cash prizes. And on the 26th, we're putting on a 3-hour enduro. And I believe the classes have been sorted to GT3 and P3. Don't quote me on that. GT3 is for sure, and there will be some kind of prototype involved in that as well. Cash prizes on that one as well. So keep an eye out for that. Sign up if you're down for an endurance race here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. So, whoo! That was something, folks. And I am JR Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner, Kennen Miller, our producer. Who the hell showed up today? I have no idea. I'm going to have a word with him, though. Our producer, Marty, and everyone here at SMB, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and hang on, baby. The weekend's coming.